Tutorial Friday.
It is Friday. Hey,
Once
everybody.
again.
Welcome to the show.
What are we talking
I
about
really
today?
don't think it's a show, but we'll just call it a show. It is Friday. So Friday tutorials. Today we're going to talk about OBS, and we're going to give this a few minutes for everyone to kind of check in and see who's out there in cyber world and let us know who we're talking to, and that way we'll be able to answer some questions and stuff in real time. Today I've got Mr. Mars Franco.
What's up, guys?
There he is. We've got Mr. G-Force Greg Mobley.
How's it going?
And we may have an appearance by the one and only DJ Crush.
What?
I don't believe it either until it happens. Hey, Rob. Rob's doing big things in the drops world, getting the drops for all the DJs. Got to get him.
I don't know if I feel qualified to talk about OBS, but I'm here anyway.
You know, I don't feel qualified. I don't think anybody is really qualified. I think Crush is really the only one who's really like opened the thing up and gone under the hood and figured it out. But since I've talked to Crush nonstop about this, I feel I can at least start things up. He says he's going to be on in 10 to 15 minutes, so that's a good thing. So I'm going to let him.
I think the list that you ran down, was it a couple of weeks ago, or was that last week?
It was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was pretty good, pretty thorough.
So I think the first thing that we should probably kind of go over is to actually talk about like the best practices and the do's and don'ts, because there's been a lot of people who have been actually, having problems, especially over the last week or two, which we've noticed with everybody, going live and streaming on the channel and streaming on their own. And I think it's best to kind of, get some certain best practices out there and on the table so that everybody can kind of more or less give themselves a checklist and say, hey, yeah, this is, I'm doing, I'm not doing that. Oh, or maybe I'm doing this wrong. So I think that's kind of where we need to start. And the first thing starts with your setup. So a lot of people are doing 2 computer setups and some people are doing 1 computer setups. I know myself right now, which I'm actually going to change, is a 1 computer setup. Greg, I think are you on 2 computers when you stream?
Yeah, I'm on 2. I tried it on 1 and my computer could just make it. And I was like, nah, I'm going to throw all the power at it.
I feel I'm there right now. I feel that I'm on a Mac, literally a 2020 Mac Mini, and it's got enough power to do what I needed to do. But I feel that it's just right there on the edge where at any given time, there could be something popping up going, oh yeah, it's a little too much struggling. So I'm planning on going to a 2 computer setup sometime in the next week or two for streaming. What about you, Mars? What are you rocking?
I'm rocking a 1 laptop setup. I use I'm also at like that 2020 laptop, and it's got high specs. It's like 32 gigabytes of RAM, but it does seem to also be right there where it's barely making it. And that just depends on what you put on your screen. If you have a bunch of dancing go-go girls or whatever. And so I'd like to know what's his name, Rox, is using.
Oh, Pop Rocks.
Yeah, his setup is pretty cool.
He's doing a 2 computer setup.
Okay.
So
I also wanted to push 60 frames a second from mine, just so you could see all of my cuts, not just some of the cuts.
Interesting. And are you rocking? Are you going? What are you going 1080 60 frames right now when you stream?
I'm doing 720, but I'm doing 60 frames a second. I think I could pull off 1080 though.
So that's kind of where we'll start. Is that unless you're GeForce, you should probably stick to 30 frames a second, and you definitely should stick to 720. There is really no reason. I mean, I can't think of a reason, especially from a video DJ standpoint. Like if you're doing some like VR stuff that's like got super intricate, super intricate detail with some of the graphics, or if you're doing, some sort of like really like high end, corporate something or other where there's just a tremendous amount of detail that needs to be shown, that's fine. But for video DJing, for music videos, especially with running all the frames and the scenes and the graphics and overlays, there's really no reason to go anything higher than 720. 720 is more than capable of handling a really clean visual experience for all of the viewers. Even on certain websites, 720 actually looks even better than streaming platforms. Like, I don't know if any of you have gone to the musicvideodjs.com website yet, but the feed that's generated from Twitch actually looks better than if you're watching it on Twitch. So, and that's all at 720. So I think 720 really, it's just where everyone needs to stay. Now, with that being said, what do you do with 720? Well, you have to, it starts with your software. So whether you're using Mix Emergency, whether you're using Virtual DJ, Rekordbox Video, any of these other softwares out there, I know there are a few others, but I think those are the main three. Make sure that your settings in that program are set natively to 720p. It's 1280 by 720, and you want to go 30 frames a second. Now, that's where you should start. Once you start experimenting and you feel that you've got more bandwidth available, your CPU usage is lower, then you can possibly experiment and go to like a 60 frames per second like Greg's doing. But I bet you, Greg, you didn't do 60 frames, that you tested with 30, right? To make sure that everything was good.
Well, I started out with 30, and a lot of my, personal edits are cut to the frame.
Right.
So it just doesn't translate as well. So I wanted it to look as good as possible.
That makes sense.
So I pushed it to 60. And my computer didn't have any issues with it.
And I think it comes down to computing power, really, at the end of the day. If you've got a lot of RAM on your computer and you've got at least probably for 60 frames a second, I say at least 20% of your hard drive open and available, and you have a good graphics card, you should probably be able to handle 60 frames a second without a problem at 720. But I would do tests. I would actually, what I would do is I would run it, open up your display monitors, and basically see where your CPU usage is at while you're running those, running that. I think I might have mine set to 60 as well. But again, computing power. So if you're just running one laptop and it's a 2015 MacBook Pro, I would probably recommend you to stick to 720 and 30 frames per second. Okay. So that's where it starts. You got to go to your software and you got to make sure that before you're even sending to OBS, you're sending at 720 and you're sending, and look at what frame rate you're sending. You then need to go into OBS and you need to match that exact same frame rate. So you need to either match it natively, or if you don't have the ability to do so, then you can rescale. And OBS has that feature in the advanced settings. So if you go to the output and you actually click on advanced, you'll be able to see the rescale. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to open OBS.
I was about to say, maybe you should pull this up.
It's getting there. So I'm going to hear. Yeah, go ahead.
I did hear somewhere that rescaling is not a good thing because it makes your computer process more.
It's not recommended. In fact, you should definitely avoid rescaling if you can. That's what I was saying, is that it's better to, I just closed it by accident. It's better to actually go native. So that's why it starts with making sure that your settings in Mix Emergency or in whatchamacallit, in Serato Video or whatever it is actually set to 720. And then whatever your frame rate is set at, you match that in OBS. So here we go. So here's OBS. I'm going to share my screen. So you should see OBS up on the screen. So here's kind of just my basic OBS setting. Okay. So you see that I've got my scenes, I've got my sources. Some people are like, oh, I want to put my logo on top of the, on top of my video. Well, build all your stuff first and then drag your source in. So let's just say my source, it didn't show up and it was down here. So basically I didn't see it because there's something else. So let me drag something else in and put it on top so everybody else can see what's going on here.
On this logo, what format is that? Is that a HAP file?
That's actually an alpha, just a regular alpha, and it's a 360.
But it's not a HAP, or
I don't think it's a HAP.
Somebody reached out to me. They were having trouble getting this to play and I thought maybe it was because it was encoded as HAP, but
You can normally drag it from like Finder onto
yeah, you
the
should be able to
sources.
drag. That's what I just did. So I just dragged this that's now playing there are the coming up slides. I just dragged this right into OBS. So now if you look in the sources, you'll see the MVD week 2 DJ Mystery at the top. But what happened to my spinning icon? I want so let's just say this is my video that I'm playing, and I want that spinning icon to actually be on top of it. Well, you just got to drag it up to the top, so it's on top of everything, because it has to be the top file. You're layering files, and you can't layer a file that's not alpha channel to have something else behind it. So that's another thing you want to do, is if it's something that's an actual spinning logo that's going to stay up there the whole time, you want to double click it. You'll open it up here and see right here where it says loop. You just want to make sure that's clicked. Otherwise, it's going to go one rotation and it's going to basically disappear afterwards. So you're all set with that. Same thing with this guy, is that you want to have it set to loop if you're playing something that is just a looping file or holding file. Otherwise, as soon as you can play it once. So if it's like an intro video or some sort of call to action, you can basically let that play, and then just basically as soon as it is done, it will automatically disappear. So this is, I don't have it set to loop because I want it to basically go away when it's done. And next thing will be my ME. So I'm actually going to delete mix emergency. So I'm going to actually, maybe I don't want to delete it since I have to play tonight. I don't want to
You
mess
can
it
just hide it with the little eye.
I can hide it, but so that's the other things. These little eyes here, this is basically so that whether something's active or not. So say I don't want to see that spinning icon, boom, I just hit the eye and it's gone. But it hasn't, I actually haven't deleted that source from OBS itself. I've just basically hidden it so it's not being shown. Same thing with this loop here. I just hide it and it's gone. So the next thing is basically you're bringing in your sources. If you want to ever check and see anything about your source, you just hit this little gear button, or you can double click on it. And so not right now, Mix Emergency is not open. So let me go ahead and open Mix Emergency. So give me 1 second here. All right. So I got Mix Emergency open. And let me go ahead and get a file.
just something else to point out real quick. As far as streaming goes, you need to check your bandwidth first to kind of know what kind of area you can do as far as quality. What is the name of that service that you can go on the web and check that?
Speed test.
Speed test. Yeah, check your speed test and see what kind of megabits per second you're getting, and that'll give you an idea of what you could actually push. OBS has a setup that'll test, but I feel like it's pretty conservative in the numbers that it gives you.
It actually really is. It's the ping is pretty strong. So here's my mix emergency here. So I can't see mix emergency because I've got this looping file. So I'm going to just basically hide that guy, and now boom, there's my mix emergency feed, which I just have it paused because I don't think we need to see any type of visual running. So mix emergency is basically brought in as an input capture. So I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Okay, are you sure? Yes, it's gone. So now I want to bring in Mix Emergency as a video capture. So I'm going to basically go video capture. Okay, so create new. So I want to name it. So I'm going to call it ME just so I know it's Mix Emergency. Yeah, this name's already in use. Of course it is. So I'll just do
ME1.
I'll just call it Mix Emergency.
Crush says he's waiting for you to let him in.
Or well, that's what happens when you're late. I can't see the waiting list. Waiting room. Here it is. As long as I'm sharing my screen, I couldn't see the hold on 1 second, guys. There we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the Dr. Fauci of streaming, DVD Crush.
The Dr. Fauci of streaming. Wow. That's funny, actually. Crush, you have to unmute yourself. Oh, there you go. All right. So I was just talking about how we're adding a source. So device. Let's see here. Going siphon out. See if I just screwed it all up.
Okay, so where are you guys at with it?
I'm showing him how to add something which I'm screwing up.
Put my second screen on. Hold on. What up, Maul?
All right. Actually, I think it
What's up, Crush?
isn't a Siphon client because I'm sending through Siphon. Let's see here. Yeah, there we go. So, all right. So I have Mix Emergency set as a Siphon. And I'm basically sending it Mix Emergency out through Siphon, which is why I needed to add it as a Siphon client. Source is Mix Emergency. There we go. I see my preview window. I'm not really changing anything in regards to my cropping or my license or a transparent. I do not want to allow transparency because I want that to be my main final window. So I'm good to go. I click OK, and here it is. Now, see how what happened here is first of all, the video is not fully centered. That's
Right click it.
That's the first thing that we have to solve. So we're gonna
right click transform.
So we're gonna go down to transform.
Go to fit the screen.
And then we're going. Oh, Crush is actually talking. I just heard him. So yeah, we're going down to fit the screen, and that will basically bring it in and fitting to the screen. Now,
but wouldn't you want your output to already be the right size to start with?
Yep.
In Mix Emergency?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my output should be set at 720. Let's go ahead and take a look. So Mix Emergency, I'm going to go to Preferences.
I gotta check your screen out real quick because mine's your screen.
And I'm going to go into Sharing. Dimensions are 720.
Pull it up so we can see it on the screen.
All right, I have to.
He doesn't want to show us his top secret settings.
It's not about showing you the top secret settings. It's about all the other stuff I have on here that I don't want to show you. All right, so here, let me do this. So Mix Emergency, can you see that?
Yeah.
All right. So you open up your preference. So Mix Emergency, you go up to Preferences, and then you basically have this little window that pops up. You go all the way over to the right. Now I'm putting my output as Siphon because I'm on the same computer. Now,
all right, you got to change someth23 to get it 723 Siphon.
So, what do you have to change?
Go to Advanced, and then okay, how about Display? Okay, see where it says Use Advanced Output? Click that, and then do Configure.
Oh yeah, see, there we go. And we're for some reason we default.
Do you have that? Can you pull that window in?
I don't know why. Yeah, I can. It's just let's do this. I'm gonna just give me 1 second while I just clear my desktop, and I'm just gonna show this entire desktop. How's everybody doing? It's Friday.
It is Friday, huh?
Is it Friday? It feels like yesterday, the day before that.
Letting your beard go to the end of the pandemic there, G-Force?
I'm thinking about it. This is how long it's been going.
Yeah, I've never seen it that long.
This is your
by December you were like Santa Claus.
I know they can hire me out for parties that we can't have.
All right, here we go. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and now share my entire desktop so that way we can
move those folders with the porn.
There we go. He changed his wallpaper.
There we go. So
look at those apps.
Mark, I can change wallpaper.
Okay, click on your config.
All right. Okay, so here we go. So we go configuration. We want to make sure our size is set.
Yeah, you type that in, and the way that you can check that is you can do info.
Yeah, we can just call this a stream. Stream key, stream scene, stream config, stream settings. There we go. Stream settings. All right, so I'm going to do that. I'm good to go here. I'm going to exit out. All right, now I'm back to this window. Use advanced output is on. Going to sharing, and now basically my siphon is what I want. Now I'm going to bring OBS in here so we can see. Now we see that.
Now delete it and add it back in, and let's see if it comes.
Sounds good. Let's do it. So we're going to delete that profile. Boom. Sayonara. There's our lovely little M. We're going to add a new Siphon client, and we're going to call it Mix Scheme.
Is Siphon less energy than NDI? through
No.
Mix Emergency?
For sure.
No, hell no.
No. But I'm on one computer. So if you're on two computers, you're going to want to do the NDI route, which Crush can talk about in 1 second. So Mix Emergency, I'm going to basically go there. I'm bringing up my source as the output. Boom. There I am. Looks
Look at
pretty.
that, 1-to-1.
All right.
That's so much work.
Here we are. Now, again, just to recap, I want my spinning icon logo here, which you can see the blue lines telling me that there's something there on another layer. So I'm going to go down to basically my spinning icon, and I'm going to drag it up to the top. So it's on top, or it's easier to drag Mix Emergency below. And there we go. So now I've layered my spinning icon in OBS. I don't even need to use Mix Emergency as one of those spinning icons. By the way, is one of you guys paying attention to the comments? Because I'm not.
I am.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. All right. So let's just say I want to add a second spinning icon because that's just the way I roll. I want to show off. I want to put a second icon. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and find another icon or another logo. So let me see here. This. Let me find my. I'll just grab my DJ logo. So let's just say I want to add a visuals. All right, so there we go. Actually, that one's not good. Let's grab the there we go. So there's the second one. It's obviously too big. So let's go to bring that up. I want it to loop. And now I need to basically grab.
You can fit to screen and then resize from there.
Yeah.
Transform.
Mouse is, I think, dying.
Oh, you got the Mix Emergency window.
Yeah.
It's a bummer that this doesn't have undo on here. Control Z.
All right, so I'm just gonna scale that down. I'm gonna put it over here on this side. And bam, now I've got two logos rotating on screen, and I'm not using any of the Mix Emergency features at all, which is actually a better thing because they do take up a decent amount of computing power. When
It
you
looks like the scaling is better too.
the scaling, I think, is actually way better, way easier, way faster. And by the way, Greg, to confirm, this is actually, these are both just alpha. They're not HAP.
Okay.
So
I was talking. I think, Greg, were we talking about that last night? I don't even think OBS. I mean, it supports it, but it doesn't have the engine of HAP even built into it.
yeah,
Does it?
so I want to jump into a couple of things I'm seeing in the chat right now. Is that, yeah, if you are using one computer to do everything, this is the way to go. You do not want to, you want to use Siphon. Use it as a Siphon client. Do not do window capture. If you're capturing, let's just think about that for a second. If you're capturing a window from on the same computer from another window that's basically processing, you're now doubling the processing power of what is needed on your computer, where you can just basically port it in with Siphon. You're able to do a lot better, a lot more things. And then, Crush and I have been talking about experimenting with basically bringing in channel 1 and 2 for different scenes and be able to put like one video over here and one video over here and the other one in the middle, which I think is kind of cool. We haven't done it yet, but we'll keep you guys apprised. Now, if you are doing two separate computers, NDI is 100% the way to go. You want to connect NDI. Now, before we get into NDI, I do want to mention a couple of things. How many people in this watching this video right now are using their Wi-Fi to stream? If you're using Wi-Fi to stream, go ahead and just put a 1 on this in the chat. No judgment here. Look, we're all here to learn. We're all here to help each other get better. So we just want to know from educational purposes, so we know like kind of where our community is at. If you're using your Wi-Fi bandwidth to stream, put a 1 on the screen. Don't put both. Mars, come, what are you doing, man? You're on the Zoom. Just
I want to participate.
Put a 1 on the screen if you're using your Wi-Fi when you're from your streaming laptop. Okay, this is a big no-no. Okay, do not do that. You need to you need to go another route. You have to go hardline. And there's a reason for that. And it's not because of the bandwidth, in all honesty, it's your bit rate. The bit rate will become variable if you are using Wi-Fi, especially if you have other people on your Wi-Fi network or other devices on your Wi-Fi network sharing that bandwidth. What's going to happen is your bit rate is going to become unstable. It's going to basically jump. It may not have big jumps especially if you've got a strong network, but it will have enough to where you will drop frames. And that's why we've seen a lot of people stuttering that's one, the stuttering with the video, like the kind of the freeze frames type of that's one of, unfortunately, several reasons why that can happen. But that's one of the first things that everyone should probably try and correct is get off your Wi-Fi. Get a dongle.
Let me
Go ahead.
interject real quick too,
Yeah.
because like plugging a hardwire in and leaving your Wi-Fi on, that's not hardwired. You have to turn your Wi-Fi off.
You have to you have to be specific on that. You have to turn your Wi-Fi off on your laptop, not your Wi-Fi off in your house.
On the laptop that you're.
I want to make sure we cover that, because I don't want to see a bunch of questions like, well, I need my iPad no, you can still leave your Wi-Fi network on, and other people in your household, like, say your wife or your kids, are on their devices. That's actually not going to affect your stream. It won't. Correct. Other people being on their devices, having another laptop running, having your iPad running, your cell phone on it, that will not affect your stream at all. If you are plugged in direct, that's where you're going to keep a constant bit rate, and you have a much more stable signal.
If you are not close to your modem, look into Powerline. The one that I use is made by TP-Link, and it works really well.
You can find a link for that and put it up in the comments.
Speaking on the Wi-Fi for your Mac, if you use stuff like AirDrop, you need to keep Wi-Fi on. But if you go in there and you remove your network from it, you can still keep your Wi-Fi on without having to turn it off.
Correct.
Yeah, but if you do that, remember to put it back on.
And then,
yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I'll let you go.
I wouldn't recommend. I mean, that's personal preference. I would never do that. I would so when I with my so right now the computer that I'm on is a Mac Mini multi-screen setup. I don't even have the Wi-Fi on this computer. It's hardlined right to my modem, and it's rock solid. And I know everyone else who has done the same thing has had a very good success with their internet and bandwidth strength. So all right, so connectivity, important to do that. Now, if you're let's go over a scenario real quick. I'm doing my video DJ stream from the garage, and my modem is in the kitchen, which is, let's just call it 120 feet away. You live in a big house. Okay, what do? We get shielded Cat6 cable. Very important, guys. Shielded Cat6. You don't need Cat7. You don't need Cat8. You know those. That's more advanced IT needs of why they've added the extra lines in those cables for internet, for bandwidth. Cat6, Cat5 Eve is okay too, but it's 2020. There's no shortage of Cat6 anywhere. Monoprice, I always speak of Monoprice very highly for things like this because they're cheap and they're built correctly. And I get the Monoprice shielded flex cable. I get them. You can also go to Home Depot and get a spool of it and do the ends yourself. I know somebody who basically went and got a spool of shielded Cat6, and they ran it, basically through the walls and do all that right to and they put it into their room because that room didn't have a hardline connection. A lot of newer, domiciles do not have actual Cat6 ports all over the place because everyone's running off of Wi-Fi. So you might have to get some cabling. You might have to get a dongle. If you have a laptop, they make an Ethernet dongle for everything. If you're USB-C, you can get the simple Mac dongle, but I actually recommend this one. It has a Ethernet at the end.
Can you put the screen? Can you put the players back, the people back on stuff? I can't see anybody except for on the Facebook. I don't know if that's just me because I have 100
better.
All
right.
Yeah.
So this dongle, it's made by Cuasoo, Cuasoo. Mars, if you can find the link for that. Cuasoo. and it's USB-C. It's got 3 USB ports. Got card reader, HDMI, mini jack, another USB-C out, and then most importantly the Ethernet. And that actually works very well. In fact, I use it mainly. I don't even use it for the Ethernet because my Mac Mini has an Ethernet, but I use that for one of my third screens. So I recommend that a lot. Apple makes one as well that you can get, but the one that you get from Apple only has the Ethernet cable. You don't have all that other stuff, so you're just wasting ports, in my opinion. So
Someone asked about using a hotspot, and that might actually be better than whatever your home
Network.
network would be, but I think you would want to have it direct connected.
Yeah,
Not
because hotspot's variable also, I think,
So
right?
funny you should ask about hotspots, because here's the Netgear Nighthawk hub. It has an Ethernet out, USB-C, and can connect up to 20 devices. And it's through AT&T, and this thing is a beast. And I've actually streamed from this thing for corporate events, and had multiple devices hooked up to it, and it's 5G, and pretty awesome.
I'm pretty sure my upload speed on my phone through the network is much faster than my home network.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't want to stream it.
No, but yeah, cell phone networks can definitely be really, really. So, anything else in regards to connectivity before we move on to the next part with all of this? Great. Okay, Crush, why don't you talk about connection over NDI real quick? Don't go into real deep. I know you don't go into really, really detailed stuff and confuse everybody. Just go over the basics.
I mean, okay, so
First off, let's ask the room a question. Everybody's watching. Does everybody know what NDI is? If you do, say yes. If you don't, say no. And again, no one's here to judge. We just want to know how much education we need to give you guys right now.
Can you repeat the spelling of that USB?
Of the dongle? BUASOO. Might be EOO. I don't know. Here, look.
EUAS. I got
I don't think that's an E. I think it's a C with a little triangle.
EAU.
You can check E.
It's
EA. Is it
EA? It's EUASOO. I found it on Amazon.
Okay, great. I bought it. I have like 4 of them.
Found several from them.
One thing I can say is it's the rough side. So it kind of looks like most people know about NDI. So Crush, why don't you just give kind of just the basic kind of quick 2-sentence overview of what NDI is, and then go into the basic connections of connecting NDI from one computer to the other.
okay, guys, how you doing? Talk about NDI. NDI is a network device interface. It's video over Ethernet line, which is it can be done on Cat 5. It's suggested to be done on Cat 6. Newer computers with USB-C, you would take a USB-C to Ethernet adapter, and you would go to your streaming computer. This is if you're using 2 computers. As Mystery and GeForce London said earlier, 1 computer would be Siphon, 2 computers would be NDI. I've worked with GeForce and Brett and some of the guys with the Music Video DJs Network, the TV thing on Twitch, and we've gotten everybody pretty much dialed in. NDI with 2 computers, in my honest opinion, is better than running an HDMI hardwired. The quality's better, the frame rate's better, no drop frames, and it's good. So, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. It carries alpha channel. So
Can also carry audio over the
yes,
line too.
Carry audio.
yes. That's correct.
I run mine OBS on my DJ computer, NDI over to my streaming computer with the audio embedded.
Right. That's good. That's dope. How do you find the audio quality to be like pristine, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with it. You tell me.
Well, I run it into the sound card NDI, and then the sound card goes into the computer. So I've got a hop before it gets to the computer. You're going direct, right?
Yeah, I'm running, what's that Rogue Amoeba app?
Yeah. What's it called?
I want to say Reloop, but that's not it.
No. What's the app you got, Mars? The Loop something?
A loop back.
Loopback.
Loopback.
Loop back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using that.
That's great. It's $100, but it's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I have the sound card that it'll carry the NDI through it to my streaming software.
You could also do like a Mackie mix board, which is like right here behind me. It was like $100, and it connects via USB, and it connects all your other devices. So I have like 2 DJ setups, and we can go back and back on back to back on the stream without having to change anything because of the channels right here that it gives you.
Yeah, let somebody like BJ said, you must download the NDI runtime file as well. I'm trying to keep up because I mean, so I'm not gonna get too
Avionics is
technical just
chiming
yet.
on. He should be in this chat too.
Who?
Avionics.
Avionics.
Yep. So I'm not gonna get too technical, as E said. He just wanted the basics of it. That's gonna be it in a nutshell. Make sure that you're paying attention to the updates. I know OBS had an update, and it's been kind of messing up a few
Yeah,
people.
we haven't gotten to that yet. I just wanted you to talk
Okay.
about NDI.
But make sure you're down. Like NDI doesn't just work out the box. You got to go to New Tech NDI. That is newtech.com/NDI. Download the drivers for that, and it needs to be installed into OBS. There will be 2 plugins that you have one plugin in the NDI SDK. Those have to be installed. They will show up in the top of OBS, and I'll show you guys that in a little bit. What's up,
So-
JC?
Yeah. So we'll see if anyone has any questions regarding NDI posting in the comments. But while they do that, we'll move on to audio. So with audio, a lot of guys I think are just going straight out of their like controller, or they're using their controller audio, or maybe they're doing, I don't know what they're doing. I think there's a lot of funky stuff going on with the way everyone's capturing the audio. I will say for the most part, a lot of the streams I've seen, audio has been moderate to excellent quality. It's very important that when you're streaming that you're not reliant on the audio going through your controller. It's really better to actually make sure the audio is properly routed if possible, or if you have a more higher end device, you shouldn't be wasting the power of its internal sound card. Like if you have an S9 or a 900 Nexus 2, hardware devices like that. Now, if you have just a controller, it's best to route your controller's audio from the native program. And you can do that by adding an audio input device. And Mars, I see you on the edge of your chair waiting to say something.
No, I was gonna show you guys Loopback if you had a chance.
Why don't we go? You want to bring up your OBS and go through bringing an audio source? Do you want me to?
I can go through it.
Continue
It's blank right now, but it'll be cool to show both.
Yeah. Why don't you show your screen and show how to first bring in an audio source? Because what are you running? Are you running a controller, or are you running an actual hardware device?
I'm running a controller with a hardware device or Loopback.
So why don't you show how to route that internal controller's audio in, so that way anyone who's watching can make sure that they're doing their controller the same way. So first we'll show the controller, then we can show Loopback, and then I can show using an audio capture device.
So the controller doesn't actually work through OBS.
Correct.
So you'd have to send it through like Loopback.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Show the controller through Loopback.
Okay. Let me
see
hop on real quick.
if they're running a controller, they can see how to do it. But I personally, this is just my personal opinion, you should be using some sort of audio capture device.
Let me come back real quick because I had to give it permission.
Crush, we have a question. Recommend running NewTek NDI Access Manager and or running NewTek NDI Video Monitor.
For streaming, no.
For streaming, no.
Uses up too many. The video player itself, and I'll get to that shortly. About the having the video player on the OBS. The video is actually opened up. Takes up about, if you turn them off, you'll save about 30 to 35% CPU usage.
Talk about the preview screen or the
Both. The
Because-
preview screen and if you're using studio mode, the output window.
Because NDI is basically just taking a screen capture and
Yes.
pulling it over. There's
Yeah.
nothing fancy about what's going on there.
Yeah,
So it's going to use a lot of CPU.
that's got to be one of the first things everybody does is that once you get everything working in OBS before you go live, make sure that you're looking at your OBS preview window before you start streaming and make sure everything's synced up. Play a video on purpose where it's literally like straight on camera shot of somebody like singing. So that way you can make sure your audio and your video are in sync. Because
Who's going to talk about syncing?
Huh?
Who's going to explain how to do that?
We'll do that in a second, but I want to at least go over to the fundamental that if yeah, I've been yawning all day. I don't know. That's what happens when you get no sleep and then you get sleep. It's all of a sudden your body's out of whack. The thing with OBS is that you want to make sure that OBS is in sync before you push to live, because that's more so your kind of final check, before you go live. So if you're not synced in OBS, you're not going to be synced on the stream. But if you are synced on OBS, then as long as all your other settings are perfectly set up, nothing's going to change from OBS to the stream.
There's a nice little tool on Mix Emergency that kind of helps you out with that too.
Yeah, if you're using Mix Emergency, there's we'll go into that next. Let's show loopback, and we'll sync. We'll go to syncing after we go through audio, because we want to be able to know how to get the audio in before we can figure out how to sync it.
All right. So first off, you open up loopback. So this is loopback right here, and you add your source. So my source is going to be the DDJ-SX3, and then with that, you see how channels 9 and 10 are showing up here, but they're not connected, because this is why the DDJ-SX is not working, because normally it connects the channels 1 and 2. But all you got to do is just run this line here to your channels 1 and 2, which is it's creating. It's creating a new 1 and 2 for you. And then to be able to monitor it back out, like through your DJ speakers, you just click headphones, or you can click other stuff. So this is the basic loopback. Takes 1 second to do, and you're set up. So you can come in here and change the name to so that's how you'll see it, and then you just shut it out. So then you come in here to OBS, you start a new scene, and you want to click audio input, because that's what it is. It's like it's a big old microphone DJ setup. You just name it whatever you want.
Now, once you guys, just so you know, I know you're doing a new scene, but just something I want to mention, you don't have to do this over and over again. You can drag sources and into other scenes, and it'll copy them into the new scenes. I just wanted to interject and make sure that everyone mentioned that, so you don't have to go over this step over and over and over again every time you create a new scene. You can drag from a scene and just drag it over into another scene, and it will copy that exact source.
Or copy and paste it, right?
Yeah, just copies and paste it.
So right here are all my audio devices, and here's the new DDJ-SX3 loop I created with loopback. So you click OK, and now say I wanted to add all that same stuff, I could just make a duplicate, and then there it is again. So you see right here, I'm actually talking out of my DDJ right now. So my microphone is connected to my DDJ, and this right here, check, 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 shows that now I can use my DDJ to DJ with on OBS.
Awesome. Thanks, Mars. All right. So, anyone in the chat, comments? Anyone have any questions thus far on any of these things? Nope. Good. Okay, great. So let me go back to my screen here. All
A
right.
lot of the controllers don't show up as audio devices, but a lot of mixers do.
Yeah, and you know that's something that everyone has to make sure they do is that not all controllers, just because you install them in Serato, will show up on your as a capture device. You sometimes have to go to the manufacturer's website and download a driver. Pioneer is notorious for this. Pioneer equipment usually needs you have to have the driver for Serato, which is an internal driver that you do in Serato. And then you also need to go and download the driver for the mixer to put on your computer so your computer can recognize the mixer as a capture device. So if you look on mine, you see down here, I actually have my 900 Nexus 2 as an input source because it actually shows up as an input source because I have the driver installed on this computer. Now, the one below it, that's Scarlett, is actually my main capture device. That is a Focusrite Scarlett. It is the 8. It's the 8i06. The 8i6. I had one too many letters in there. So the Scarlett 8i6, which is my capture device, gives me full control of being able to bring in inputs, send outputs. I can do all my routing. So for my setup where I've got a studio monitor speakers, I've got going out to an additional external recorder, I have my loop back through my DJ equipment, I've got my microphone that I'm talking on right now. All of this is going through my Focusrite, and it comes with some software that actually just download from the website. Very, very easy to use, very, very easy to set up. And let's see here, if I turn my Scarlett off, there you go, because I muted it. You can see on my screen all of the levels going up, and see how I'm a little hot. I can just use this little slider to back myself down, and now I'm perfectly out of the red, and I have a nice clean audio mix. Even though it is mono running in, because it's just I'm running in a microphone on one channel, when it does output through there, it is outputting in stereo. Okay, great. So any questions yet on any audio? What source selection in OBS for NDI?
What was the question, E?
Question is what source selection in OBS for NDI? So if I had NDI and I wanted to add a source, where am I selecting is what they're asking.
The NDI, it should show up when you had it.
Here, I'll share my screen if you open it up. Kind of go over NDI real quick because I apologize, guys, but I have my children, so I can't stay the whole time. But if you guys, I can take the NDI questions.
Yeah, let's finish up on NDI and then you can take off.
Okay. Let me share my screen somehow. I've got way too many screens plugged in because this is.
And the NDI does crash depending on what runtime you have for NDI, so you got to be careful with that. I was having a lot of crash issues at first, and then finally I figured out about that runtime thing.
Yeah, just try. Yeah, and you're right. Just pay attention. Sign up for the notifications of the email. They are very, very, very good about sending stuff out on new updates. They'll tell you exactly what you have to update and what you do not have to update.
And get it from the source too.
Yes, New Tech or Sienna.
Check.
Turn this iPad off. Maybe I'll get the screens where I can see them properly.
So just to recap, all Crush is getting ready. 720 is what we talked about for resolution. We talked about staying connected to hardline to your bandwidth internet connection. We've talked about if you're on 2 different computers, you need to be doing NDI, which is what Crush is about to show. And if you're on one computer, you should really be using Siphon if possible. Virtual DJ, I don't believe, has Siphon. So I know, Greg, you're talking to Marcel in the chat right now about that, because I know Virtual DJ guys are having to do the screen capture, the window capture, which is obviously not recommended for video DJing.
It's out though too, right, for Windows?
It's what?
From what I've seen, it doesn't work well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not never used it, but I know there's something that's supposed to be comparable, but I guess not.
I think you can use Spout, even though when I first looked into it, it didn't look like it's available, but I think you can do it. If you don't know about Spout, it's basically like Siphon for the PC.
Right.
And so it would be sharing frames directly to OBS rather than capturing a window. And I think that's where people kind of get into trouble.
Okay. So I'm gonna go over the NDI. Somebody said, what source do you add it? So, depending on how you're gonna use NDI, if you're taking the input from Mixing Emergency into the second computer, whether it be a Mac or Windows, and you're using OBS to stream that out and capture that NDI from your main computer, you're going to want to add a source. You're going to go right down here. Remember, I said earlier that you would have to download the NDI OBS plugin. You're going to add it. NDI, if you install that plugin correctly, and I'll do a little video sometime next week when I get caught up and the kids are back home with their mom. I'll do a more detailed video because there's a lot of information. Josh and them did a video last week, and Pop Rocks did a video. They had a lot of good information on it, um, and they hit up on a lot of good points. So I want to kind of either you guys can go watch that or check out something. I may talk to Josh and his guys about doing something over here. Maybe next week. I don't think Josh is in the chat room, but just to extensively talk about NDI. I mean, I've been on NDI since probably the first 6 months it came out, about 2.5 to 4.5, 3.5, 2.5, 3.5 years ago. We talked with NDI or Sienna, the company that's actually developed the software. With Evan Clark has actually talked to him, but it's ever since it came out, we kind of just switched over to it. I have no HDMI in my house or my studio. If I go to clubs or whatnot, I stress this to try to have stuff on a rider. They're not there yet, so you have to have your bag packed and be able to adapt and stuff. But that's on the road. Let's talk about now in streaming. So if you install the plugin properly, you'll get this right here. You'll get the NDI output settings. You can click that. Let me move this over. I got the little thingy.
And speaking of that plugin, I put the link on the chat so people could go back and download both patches.
Awesome. Thank you, Mars. Um, you want to select this main output that you can be sending if you want to use it somewhere else, but that's advanced settings. So let's just make sure you got that plug in there. If it shows up, you know it's there. So I'm going to take an NDI source here.
Don't leave that turned on if you're not using it.
Yes, because then you'll freak out when you try to go to settings and you can't open anything. Have you been there, G-Force?
I've had some trouble if it's up.
Right?
And there's also like the OBS screen share.
Yes.
That'll get you into trouble as well.
Just stay basic, guys. Stay basic. So I'm gonna throw a couple of videos in here. What you want to do in Mix Emergency, because you want to get that active the same way where GeForce told you to go to the sharing settings. So you go to settings, preferences, and you go right here to the end where it says sharing. You want to select output because you're going to send your video from Mix Emergency to the capture computer where you're going to which is going to have OBS on it and stream out. For purposes of Evan's show, for the music video DJs, 1280 by 720, 30p is more than sufficient. If you guys don't have extensive bandwidth, and I mean if you guys have like 8 megabytes, 12 megabytes on the upload, uncheck this. Uncheck anything extra. Just run that stream and leave it alone. Audio doesn't carry much weight to it. If you do want to use audio on the same line, that's fine. G-Force, you concur with that?
Yeah, it's not gonna go through Mix Emergency though.
Right. It's not. Yeah. That's just correct. But it's not as heavy too, so it's not going to be a stress on that bandwidth. I mean, it's really small pipe for that.
So,
Um.
a real quick thing about that limit frame rate is I was trying to go through NDI and I kept getting lip syncing issues. So then finally, when I changed it to 60, everything was not delaying like it was before.
You were
So if
getting
I
a
send
delay
out
with it.
my full 60 to OBS,
What other stuff were you running with it?
just normal.
Just Mix Emergency and Serato,
Yeah,
and you were getting lagging.
I was getting a lag, like a delay. So the words, the audio wasn't matching the video.
Huh.
But now that I have it on 60, and it's not even pushing my laptop hard either,
Okay.
because you're sending it 60 to OBS, but OBS is then sending it 30.
Yeah, but yes, for you guys, yes. I'm doing some extra stuff though, so this has to be opened up more for me. But 60 frames, yes, Mars, you're absolutely correct for the stream for the music video. 1280 60 frames, guys. Uncheck this unless you're doing something with alpha channel underneath or overlays like GeForce.
And Mixed Emergency is trying to send 60 frames all the time.
All the time.
It may not get there, but it's trying.
I probably shouldn't be showing this
That's
version.
definitely what I
Huh?
was trying to do.
Excuse
I
me?
have mine set at 60,
That, yeah.
but also
Like if it's set to open, it's gonna try to send it 60, but it doesn't
I think it
limit
comes down
at
to your
60.
computing power.
And you can open your info. You want to show that, Crush?
Yeah,
Where that is in
let me
Mix
get the
Emergency?
proper software open here because I'm gonna get in trouble.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. All right, guys, can't show you this.
Get your screen capture going.
Oh, you have 8 up there anyway. Can we,
I'm glad I caught that.
we
Got
established
it.
that 8 is bad?
The what?
8 has bugs. You have
What are
You
you
have
talking about? 8.
your version of OBS.
I'm testing it for you.
Oh.
Remember we were on the phone earlier with Brad
Why do you
Second?
have 8 up? We already established that 8 is not working correctly.
Hey, man, 8 is enough.
It is enough.
That's our new TV show.
Three's Company. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, guys. So now that I got this up, you have your NDI sent. Let me put the videos back in here. I'm not using Serato, guys. I'm just gonna do it for demonstration. So
Evan's yawning. You sure you don't want to plug some Rain energy drink right about now?
No,
what's rain? Yeah, rain. You got the rain energy drink.
Get your Gillette razors.
Okay, guys. So I'm sending out NDI. I'm gonna come over here. Let's make sure I got this going right. Yeah. So when you add the NDI source, you're gonna get the properties window that's gonna pop up. As you can see, when you hit the drop down, don't just click here and think nothing's working. Go over to the right side. Your window will probably look a little smaller, but click that and you're going to select the Mix Emergency output. Will show up. Okay. Bandwidth, highest is fine depending on bandwidth is like you want to judge your settings as far as bandwidth. If you have a low amount of bandwidth, you just have to use a little bit of common sense. And some of the trial and error, just practice your settings and see what works best for you. Everybody's different. Not everybody has the same stuff on their computer, the same hardware, the same software that could be reacting to it. Everybody's different. We could show you the way that it should be and the way that the best way possible to get it, but test it yourself. Don't just go by what we say. We don't know what computer everybody has personally. So make sure you check that out and make sure you test it. Sync. Internal means you're in the same loop. Like I'm taking a NDI source like I am now because I'm on one computer. I would use internal because it's internal. It's not going out to the network or an external source. When you are streaming NDI to a second computer that has OBS for the capture and the stream, You are going to set it to network. Okay. Allow hardware acceleration. I'm assuming that you guys know about the hardware acceleration by now. I'm going to skip over that and keep moving. G or Mystery or Mars, if you guys want to come back to that.
So would you recommend that for some people and not for other people?
Um, ever since Nvidia in 2015, I haven't had any luck with using it. It seems to pull more resources from OBS when I use
From
it.
from what I can tell, OBS on the Mac side doesn't support NVIDIA at all.
No, not at all. Not since 2015 when they had the Nvidia cards. Now they're all AMD and what else? I think
I think
just
that's it.
AMD. Yeah.
RIP.
Um, so it's kind of, I want to say, pointless to check that. I want to say I'm not 100% sure, but on the Windows side, Nvidia is very popular still. Um, so Mac users, I would suggest leave that unchecked. Fix alpha blending adds a filter to this source. You guys shouldn't have to worry about that unless you're doing some advanced layering or using some extra software like Resolume or something like that. In addition, YUV range. G, I'll let you speak on this because I'm going to be a little bit. I usually always go to full, but I think partial should be good for these guys with lower bandwidth, correct?
Possibly, but I say full on. Do
Yeah.
it.
I mean, guys, the best way to do it is max it out and then back it off. Some people like to start off low and then inch it up to where it's. I like to start off maxed out to where my computer says, flipping the bird at me, and then back it off till it starts clapping
Really
at
is the best method is just to be like, oh, how much can I push before my computer basically
me.
pushes
Right.
back? And that's a
E,
good way to know your limitations.
what kind of CPU usage do you get when you stream?
I'm at like around 30%.
Mars, what do you get?
Same. Like if
Yeah.
if like I'm recording my set, I can go down to like 40, 45.
Yeah, I don't know what it is when I'm recording because I haven't really recorded because I usually go out to my
You
Atomos.
use a Ninja still?
Well, not since we started streaming, but most like once I go back to a two computer setup, I'll definitely probably put things through the Atomos Shogun and then come out of that into the. I think I'm going to go into the black. In all honesty, I think I'm going to go computer, Blackmagic, Atom Mini, out of the Mini into the Mac Mini, and then also out of the Mini into the Shogun for recording. But the Pro has recording built into it, so I don't even know if I need the Shogun anymore.
Where are you at, GeForce?
I feel like I'm somewhere between 6 and 10
Same.
because my GPU is doing most of the work,
Right.
and I think it's only at like 5.
Yeah, I think
I'll have
I
to look
think
tonight when I stream. I'll let you know what it really is. I actually haven't paid too much attention to it because it hasn't been, jamming up.
we don't really use OBS, but when we do use OBS, it's low, like in between 8 and 14, I think. Um,
Are, are you looking at your resources from your monitor, your utility monitor for Mac, or are you looking at OBS?
we talking about OBS, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
Yeah, I'm usually just looking at the bottom stats.
yeah.
Yeah, right here. What? And this is another little trick, guys.
Oh, you gotta show them the tool.
Yeah, if you guys go, you see these stats right here? They
All
are
right.
at the they
You're,
are at the
you're,
bottom.
you're an 8. A lot of people aren't in 8.
I'm sorry, say it again.
So you're in version 8, which a lot of people I think are on version 6 or 7.
It doesn't look any different. It's whatever's messed up is in the internal. The layout's still the same. This is all my stuff for working on something for Mojax. Um, this stat bar, which you guys may not be used to seeing, you can view it by clicking the status bar up here and view. And status bar will give you. Mine's already docked, so it's not going to really pop out or do anything. But what I like to do is go to my docs under view, go to docs. This will be unchecked by default. If you check that, you can kind of put that anywhere you want it to be. Okay, so you can drag it out, make it a pop out. I like to have it in. I'm sorry. I like to have it where I can see it constantly if I need to. If I feel like something's not running right, I start getting a lag or it starts hiccuping or skipping or dropping frames, I like to come over here and check this out. You've got your stats down here as well, which GeForce was just speaking about. Once you open this up, they will no longer be down there. Sometimes when you open and you run in Serato or Serato DJ or whatever your preference is to run, you can actually pull up instead of being actually full screen. And this is kind of a cool little trick. I don't know if GeForce does this or not. You can kind of go down here and just grab the bottom of Serato, if I can get it, and just do this.
Oh, a
That
little
way,
peekaboo.
little peekaboo. And you can constantly see everything down there running just from a bird's eye view without having to switch. Command tab is your friend. If you ever need to get to something really fast, or you don't do this, Command tab to get to software you need to get to quickly.
So
So-
I use the activity monitor on a Mac, and I think that maybe gives me different numbers of what I'm doing, but it actually shows me how my computer's doing. I don't know if you want to pull that up, activity monitor.
Yep.
But like this is where it'll show me where my computer is. And
Overall,
yeah, so like my computer when I'm streaming, it idles at like 75. Right now, both our computers are idling almost as if we were streaming, you know? So that's what mine looks like when it's streaming.
so you guys can check that out. Like, activity monitor is really great if you're trying to troubleshoot where the issue is coming from. Also, correct, Mars?
Yeah. Correct.
So, anytime you're guessing or wondering or can't get through to somebody or you're trying to figure out for yourself, open the activity monitor when you're having the issue. Just go right to it. Believe it or not, the activity monitor does pull resources when it's open. Not a lot, but I'm like Mars. If it's something I can see my overall computer, especially when we're testing stuff, being innovative and trying to figure out if our computer can handle it. Do we need another CPU? Where can I access more memory, etc., etc. So, thanks for that tip, Mars.
It's all good.
On that
Um,
note, you were talking about Command Tab. There's a piece of software that I use called Total Spaces,
yep.
where if you're running a lot of different programs at the same time, you could put them all in their own space, and it's
Yep.
sort of like a multi-desktop situation. And I've been running it for a lot of years.
What's that again? Because I remember asking you about that.
Total Spaces.
Spaces.
iStat for days. It's yes, sir. iStat for days. I actually use that mini, Jay, the mini iStat.
You're probably confusing quite a few people right now.
Okay.
I think the last thing we should just kind of, you talked about sync. I think you talked about sync with NDI. You're talking about sync without NDI, and you're talking about sync with Siphon. You should be doing that in mix emergency with your delay compensation. And again, the only way to really know what your delay compensation should be set to is to run a video track through your setup into OBS and adjust your delay compensation so that it matches.
But if you're running a camera,
Yes,
that's probably going to be
we'll get
your
to that, thank you.
slowest input. So you want to start there as far as syncing.
But the camera is going to be on a different. Camera's going to be not going to be coming in through
Siphon.
mix emergency, or is it? I mean, you can put a
Yeah.
camera through mix emergency, but it's
Yeah.
sometimes easier to input a camera directly into a video capture device into OBS.
It's a lot of things to sync.
There are, and you want to make sure that everything is, your settings are all synced up, so that way when you go live, you don't have that ugly delay.
Anybody have any more questions for me? I really apologize, but I got my kids here.
You suck.
I'm sorry to break off from you guys. I would stay longer, but if you guys have any questions,
Parental responsibility.
Mars or
The old one of the book.
bring him. Come here.
Yeah, right. You ain't getting them on camera.
It's
No.
okay. Crush will just give out his number and you can call him 24/7 and he will answer all your questions.
Yeah, G-Force got a sale on all of those 3D logos for 99 cents, y'all. So y'all make sure y'all get a hold of them.
99 cents. That's a
99
steal.
cents. If you guys have any other questions and you want to
That's
refer to me
99
on
cents per
NDI,
pixel.
I would say
just,
99 per gig.
just,
Per
just ask the
pixel.
question.
Oh, per pixel. Oh.
Somebody will write it down and I'll address it tomorrow or something like that. I'll do it. I need to do something for the community anyway, and kind of make an extensive video. Maybe me and G-Force will get with that, if he has time.
Hey Crush, show him the disable preview real quick.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
So
Right.
currently I am in studio mode. Most of you guys kind of run like this. If you ever happen to be in studio mode, this is your output, main output. This is your preview. It's what's to come next. Okay? So if you're running here, this would be your main. This resource hog right here by itself, if you right click it, this is after you test everything. Make sure it's in sync and etc. etc. If you uncheck that, you're going to save a ton of resources on your CPU drain.
Even shrinking it, minimizing it, it even does it more.
That's correct. I just bring it down as low as I can so I can still see my
Your CPU.
jiggy.
Now show him that little monitor thing.
Which one? Oh yes. So up here, it's not attached to all the engine that's in this, all the scripting and stuff that's going on here. If you go up to the top, there's a view, multi-view, full screen and Windows. It's kind of self-explanatory. If you open this up, you have all of your scenes right here. I only have a couple in here. And then you have your previews. If you click them, it will go to it. It will change the scene with the transition, whichever one's there.
That's pretty hot right there.
You can also link that up to Stream Deck.
I don't think it's MIDI. Yeah, you can though. You're right. You're right. Stream Decks will control it multi-window.
You want to talk about the Stinger real quick?
Sure. I could go over that real quick. So let's talk about what you guys have seen, like Mars. I don't know if he got into it with OBS and Stingers. So let me just kind of what that eye real quick. I'll just use that as an example. I'm gonna enable my preview. I'm gonna get it off my ugly mug. Okay, so real quick, guys, Stingers. Let me open it wide open so you guys can get a better view. In your scene transitions, when you click this, like you'll see cut, fade. You won't see much there. If you click the arrow, it gives you options for more transitions to use between your AB, your videos on the left deck, right deck. Stingers, I'm gonna, I guess, really basic. I guess that video that I just had that was doing that will be a good example. You'll get a window. You're gonna search for your video file, Stingers. Those are the things that GeForce has for sale for 79 cents, I think.
Per
A little bit
pixel.
cheaper than the 3D logos. You can reach him after the show.
And I will give you Crush's phone number.
Okay. So now I gotta find a Stinger in here that I can show. Let's just use
Don't you already have one in there? You're just gonna do it again.
I'm gonna load it and show it how you catch the transition point in OBS. You wanna, so I've selected a Stinger, guys. A Stinger would be, I can use a reference from that eye. Downloads. Oh, it's not gonna open, huh? Hold on one second, guys. Let me get this so I can show you what it looks like. I wanna let's go here. That's the better way, right, G? All right. So let's say I uploaded this file. You can preview it. Okay. If you notice, it switches behind the scenes. It's kind of behind the curtain. You got video A. Let's say it'd be left deck. You hit the transition, and then it reveals deck B or deck 2. How do
And
we do that? Go ahead.
where that fade out to transition point, you want to change that. I learned that last night.
This?
Nope. Down to,
The audio fade.
yeah,
This?
crossfade.
Ah, yeah. We don't use this, man. I'm just kind of like.
Because otherwise you'll get a dip in your audio when you go from scene to scene.
Yeah. I heard you did some. Was it that was happening to you last
Yep,
night or the
that's
week
what it
before?
was.
Because I heard I'm like, what is he doing? Then me and Evan were talking like, man, he's doing. Is that live? Because you were asking the same thing for Evan, and I'm like, yeah, like you're live, and I said, yeah, because his volume is dipping. I didn't know that. Thank you.
There it is.
Yeah, but we don't like. Yeah, we don't use OBS, but we do use OBS for the show for music video DJs. So, okay,
Hey, hey,
this
Crush. I
yes.
don't, sorry to interrupt. Somebody's asking a question about remote management of someone else controlling the scenes. Do you have any recommendations about that?
The
um,
conversation for another day, to be honest.
that I can me and you can get in that on some advanced NDI stuff, and then having somebody else control it remotely. It, if it's if it's just controlling crossfades and
And
stuff
you
like
that
that,
can
yeah, you can
do it,
use what you're using right here, or use
do it through the Stream Deck's app, where someone else could have the app and your link to your computer, and they could be controlling from their cell phone from their house.
yeah. We'll have to. I think you might have to open a port for that. I'm
You
not
could
sure.
have wifey, she's changing your scenes on you, and you're like, what's going
Or you
on?
can have dad, Evan's dad doing it. He's a trip.
He is.
Um, so, where we at? Okay, so let's say just for instance that I don't. This is one of the things I don't like also here. In After Effects, if you're creating the file, you will know where your cut point is. The cut point is, let's say I got a stinger or a transition that is 100 frames in length, and I put a cut frame at 35. That's where the video will cover the whole screen. It's where the magic happens behind the curtain and then reveals the next scene. If it's at 35, the thing that I don't like here is there's no like player. It's even when you play a video in this OBS, you can't hit play, stop, pause, nothing. It's out of your control.
Oh, go.
So here either gotta
I need to go or no go.
purchase them or get them or create them so you know where that point is, or you have to trust the person that is creating to them or that is going to sell them to you, that you trust that they're going to put that information in the file when they send it to you in the folder. um,
People are
this cut frame is at 50 because I think it's only 2 seconds, a 2 second clip. It's a fairly long hold on that cut frame. I think it's like a half-second hold, but you could literally switch between A and B. I would like, I mean, you can do it in one frame. I do it in 2 frames because I think it's two motions, the up and the down. Um, I would like the very minimum would be 2 frames for me if I was doing a switch. It would be cover and reveal. So I call it two moves, but you can theoretically do it in one. But I find that you can't in OBS, you can't really streamline it to like if it was 50.5 or 50.3 to be exact, you can't do that here.
To be honest, like that's something you should be taking it into a After Effects or another editing program.
Yep,
And
and find out where that cut frame is.
yeah, you
But I
should.
mean, like if you're getting these from somebody like on the sale with GeForce tonight, um, he'll put it in the folder. He'll put like a little text file or something like that. You're gonna hate me because you're gonna get some calls. I'm turning my phone off. Um, Somebody will put that in a little text file inside the folder. They'll say cut frame is this, okay? That's where you would enter here. It would be entered here. Monitor off, if that means if you have audio in this file, if it's video and audio, some of them have like a ding or something that would kind of address
Or a swoosh or a
a
like
sound effect. Yes, sir. Yes,
no,
sir. Exactly. You monitor off, it would, it would mute the audio. It would just be the video. Monitor only, obviously, it would just monitor it. It wouldn't go to the mains, and then you have monitor and output. You would hear it in both headphones,
it's
cues.
cool because some transitions might have a cool audio effect to throw on
Exactly.
top of it. You have a cool fireball, it's like, and that might be really cool to have over top your transition, because it kind of exemplifies the creativity that's just gone on there. But you also
Where
might
would you
want to have it.
set that audio level?
Where would I set the audio? I definitely wouldn't. I would definitely set
You
it.
would you wouldn't be setting the audio. I mean, it does. It has to be inside that file.
Yeah,
Right, but
I think that
where's the
I think that
volume control for that?
volume
In OBS,
control,
there is none.
there is no
Yeah.
control. You would have to be rendered like at the right volume that would work.
But that's like OBS is so dope, but it does lack some professional features. But
We had a question.
at this price point, guys, it's free. It does
Yeah,
the
right.
job.
Can't
What's
complain
that?
against free.
It's so awesome. Free.
We've gotten some questions about the difference between Stream Deck, Streamlabs OBS and OBS Studio.
Joshua, where you at?
He's here. He's
Streamlabs OBS seems
Mars,
to be a little more.
Mars, you use Streamlabs, right, or Stream Elements?
So I was using Streamlabs OBS for like a quick second, and then I switched over because it wasn't doing that automatic scene switcher, and they're kind of the same thing. It's just if you want all this glitz and glamour, then you can go with Streamlabs OBS.
I think Streamlabs OBS was really developed more for the gamers because there's so much integration in regards to like the stats and the goals and the bits and all of these gaming, like in enhancements that basically allow them to interact with their audience and really participate in real time with those types of things. Like it's more than just comments. It's like all these crazy like overlays, subscribers and followers, and they can do, they have all these controls, like they can control with the emotes and subscriber points and this and that and blah 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 blah. For DJs, we don't need all those. We really don't need all that stuff. We're more focused about transitions, clarity, quality, being able to layer. That's really where more of our focus is. I know some guys like having the chat. Me personally, this is just my personal opinion, and as you can see with being behind this whole channel that we have going on, I'm not like censoring anybody unless it's a violation of Twitch's terms. But I don't care what you put on your. I just think that having the chat window on the screen, it's just too much.
I think depending on how you're looking at it, it's going to be redundant, because if you're looking at it on your phone, you can look at the chat. If you're looking at it on Apple TV, you can see it, or you can put it away.
I think the only reason why a lot of people are using the chat overlays is because they're restreaming to multiple platforms. So they want their Facebook viewers to see the comments that are happening in Twitch, and vice versa. If people are watching on Twitch, they want their Facebook viewers to see they want the Twitch viewers to see the Facebook comments, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's the main reason for the chat integration. I mean, Mars, you're the perfect candidate for that. You've been behind the whole figuring out how to do the chat integration with our channel for all the guys.
Yeah, some guys like to put it as like something extra on their screen, which is cool, because if you're not looking at it through Twitch or through the app, or you have Twitch on your TV but it's full screen instead of like the half and half, it'll help you out. It'll look cool, and I like it. One thing about Streamlabs OBS that I liked is where you could actually save your scenes and go to another computer and they'll be right there, instead of having to import export them. It's right away, and I'm always going back and forth from two computers, and it was helpful. But I wanted to do a little less than what Streamlabs was offering, so I went back to just regular OBS.
That's it. I'm gonna address something. Will you just Okay, can anyone tell me the difference between Streamlabs OBS Studio and OBS that most DJs use? It adds the features into OBS. OBS is an open source project where you can, take their code and their SDKs and stuff like that and kind of create your own feel for the software for OBS. Streamlabs is taking what Mars their chat or if Josh is doing it, both of you guys. Um, the chat is to the right on the OBS screen, the software, and then there's something else to the left of it. I can open up mine if you need.
The
I don't know if I
Streamlabs
got.
one you pay for, correct?
I'm not sure, but I believe so.
It's free for like basic stuff, but a lot of the stuff like the scenes and stuff you have to pay for.
Yeah. See, here we go.
But it's basically the same thing, right?
It's OBS.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
OBS. It just looks kind of cool, but
It's just, I mean, the OBS is open source, so anybody can really take it and just add their own code to it, and it's kind of modular as it is. Building the design and stuff like that, it's kind of just adding modules and extensions.
like right there on the right hand side where it says mini feed, I think you could also put like the chat there too, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, if I go to edit, like what is test widgets? God, I haven't used this in forever. Here we go. So I could choose my layout. See how it's modular, G? And folks out there in Facebook land. So if I wanted to,
So you can just start dropping your different art and displays or feeds into this
correct.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of these even look familiar. I've seen them on the channel.
Yep. Yeah, build your website here too. So that's
But
the
I would
editor.
still recommend just regular OBS. It's
Yeah, these
got
things
a
get
lot of
heavy,
stuff.
man. You start adding chats and uh, you know, bits and things that fire off. They're cool. They work good if you're secure with using it. I know guys that use it that they know how to use it properly with their system, or they know what their system can handle. I see other people get a tip and their whole thing crashes.
I've seen them where somebody will have like a camera in one and then a loop on another one and then a video and then a video real big. And their camera is great, but their videos are like 6 frames a second.
Yeah, very choppy.
That's horrible. That's bad.
Let me show that scene switcher that I've
Yeah,
been
I'm out,
telling you
guys.
about.
I love you guys. I gotta go spend some time with my kids. If you got any questions, just call GeForce and spam his email. Jump on that
And
sale tonight, 89 cents. 89 cents.
I'm giving out Crush's number for all tech tips.
You don't want mine. Love you guys.
See you, bro.
Mystery, thank you, Mars. G, talk to you guys later.
See
It's
ya.
all good.
Thanks, Josh. All right. So the other thing I think we should cover today, and then we'll be done, is the bit rate. I think that's a big one that a lot of people have a little problem with. So if you actually go to here, I'm going to go back and share my screen.
Okay.
Let's see here. All right. So if you go back into OBS and you basically go to your settings, let's run through the settings real quick. So general settings, this is all really default, except for your theme, which is usually system. I change mine to dark because I like the darker. I don't like the brightness of everything that's always flying at my screen. So I try and keep all my stuff in dark mode as possible. Serato and my browsers and everything I can. So your stream, this is where you put your stream key in. So you basically, you're selecting your service. Servers auto recommended, and then your stream key is where you paste your stream key. It's always good to click show and just verify that that's the correct stream key, especially if you're doing stuff like you're on the channel and you're jumping around from different streams, and you want to have like your stream, your personal key, your channel key, guest key, you're doing something over here, over there. Always make sure you verify your stream key. A couple of people have had that mistake happen to them where they haven't verified it, and like, oh crap, I'm streaming. I'm not on the channel. What's going on? I'm like, well, you're streaming to your channel. So just make sure you double check your stream key. Output. So most people's output here is going to actually be under the simple mode. It's default. I'm going to tell everybody to go to advanced because that's just, we're video DJs. We like to do things the hard way and go through all the trials and tribulations of doing advanced settings. So from streaming, your audio track is always going to be defaulted to 1. So that's really where it should stay for your audio track that's going out to your actual stream. Your encoder is best to be set at X264 unless you have other encoders installed locally on your actual computer that are, pro grade. Like if you're an avid, Ableton user and you have the Ableton codec, that's specific and you really like the way that sounds, it'll actually appear in OBS, because if it's installed on your computer as a driver, it will appear. But I would recommend to everybody going with the native X264.
So you have a couple of extra ones in there.
The Apple, because these are ones that are installed on my computer.
So are those related to the graphics card specifically?
Yeah, these are basically.
Yeah, because on mine, I actually have NVIDIA, and they just revamped that on the latest version.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't tried either one of these. Maybe Greg, maybe over the weekend or something, we can do some tests and I can stream to my channel and try each different one of these and tell me if it's better or worse.
Yeah, you can take that off here.
Good so far.
Well, just the X264 is better.
Yeah, as I've tried all 3 of them, I thought X264 was better.
Well, it's recommended in everywhere that I've read. The X264 is actually the best to work with. So
it's definitely a beast.
It definitely is. It really does a really good job. It's smooth and steady. I mean, I used to have to go through Apple Media Encoder in real time to basically do my encoder for my old streams back in the day, and this has just been a blessing. I'm like, oh, this is all I have to do is click this. I'm like, wow, that's pretty fantastic. So that's where you should stay with that. Okay, so the next thing is the scaling. So see how there's this rescale here to your different output, all these different resolutions. Well, if you're sending out at 720, that should automatically appear, and you shouldn't have to rescale it at all. So you should be able to leave that unclicked. Enforce streaming service encoder settings. Yes, you do want to enforce that, because that's basically going to keep everything native to this X264 and keep it nice and sharp. All right, your rate control. Now, I've heard that some people have had, for some reason, their VBRs. So VBR, for some reason, on a lot of people's OBS is what has been defaulted to, and that's definitely no. You do not want the variable bit rate. You want a controlled bit rate, CBR. And I keep mine around 4,000 or 4,500, depending on what I'm doing. I rock both of them. I can basically tell you that 4,000 is really stable, but again, it comes down to your computing power. So if you're doing a stream and you go at 4,500 and you're not having any issues, leave it. If you're starting to have some issues doing, I rock both of them. Back down a little bit, back down to maybe 4,000 or even 3,500 or even lower. But try and stay around this range. This is a strong bit rate, especially if you're connected to the internet directly on a hard line.
Chances are good your videos aren't encoded higher than that in the first place.
Yeah, it's very good chance that your videos are not encoded higher.
I've gone as low as 2,000 and I've had no problems, and it looks great. And
yeah, and again, it comes down to computing power as well. So it's,
and if your files look good to start with.
Yeah, if your files look good to start with. So buffer. So I think the OBS defaults not having the buffer on, if I'm not mistaken. I use the buffer. I keep the buffer around 2,500. I just feel that's a nice, smoother setting for the buffer. Keyframe. So I've been experimenting lately with the keyframe. If you have it set to 0, which is the default, that's going to be an auto. So it's going to automatically try and adjust to the keyframe settings. You don't want that. You want to try at least go to a 2. Now, some of you guys might need to go to a 4 or even a 5 or a 6, because it just depends on what program you're using. I think with Virtual DJ, you need to be a little higher than lower. I think you actually should be somewhere around 4 or 5. With Mix Emergency and Serato, if you are not using a lot of your CPU usage, if things look are to be running pretty steady, 2. But if you're starting to run into some problems with your keyframes, like if you're dropping frames and you're basically not staying in sync with your video, like in regards to it staying in like perfect sequence, and you're starting to notice that it's got a little bit of pause to it, start adjusting your keyframes and go up from there. Go to 3, 4, go a little higher, because that might be needed to basically adjust those pauses, because your keyframes are not keeping up with your audio. So basically something to just kind of look into. You have to experiment. I can't really tell you where the like the exact setting is. I can tell you that my setting is at 2, but that's something you have to experiment with and really see what works best for you. Same thing with the CPU usage. So there's all these different effects here. I noticed placebo the other day. I never even noticed that before. I think that's just basically like it automatically chooses it for you, but I keep mine on very fast. I know a couple of guys have to go faster because their computers are not as strong, especially if you have a higher CPU usage when you're streaming and you see it up in the 40s, 50s, 60s. You may want to back down your usage preset. So I keep mine on very fast. The profile and the tune, I really just leave those alone. I haven't touched any of them. Okay, if you're recording, so standard type of recording is basically you select your path of where you're going to store your file, your formats. You can actually select a variety of formats here. MP4 usually is probably the best. It takes a little bit less space. Your audio track is coming from 1. Encoder still at X264. You don't need to rescale your output because you want to record natively at the same output that you're sending to your stream. And here's the thing is on your bit rate for your recording, I bump the bit rate up. I think it's always good to go probably about 1,000 higher than what you're sending out, because then you get a really smooth and clean recording. I did the same thing with the key frame intervals. I bumped it up to 4, and I've had my recordings have actually been pretty good so far on OBS, although I don't use it too much. I do use my Atomos recorder for recording purposes. Audio. So this is where you would basically, if you needed to have multiple audio sources come in, this is where you would assign them. You can name them, so that way you know what on your mixer what is going on. So if I want, track 1 to be my Focusrite, or whatever I'm doing, or it could be the 900. This is where you name all your audio, and the replay buffer is basically something we stay away from unless you're actually planning on doing replays all the time. Okay, so here's audio. So I do some Zoom calls through OBS sometimes. I know that sounds weird, but it actually sometimes is needed. So I did an auxiliary audio input, and I was able to select from some of my sources here. So there's my Scarlett, and I basically was able to select Zoom as the audio. And then for aux2, I did my Scarlett. So that way I always have a backup of my audio interface as an auxiliary in case I needed to adjust any levels. So if I wanted to have my DJ mix coming in from my so here's my audio sources right here. So let's say I wanted to have my DJ mix coming in from my 900 Nexus 2, but I wanted to have my microphone separately because my mic, is hot, and I want to make sure the mic is, dropped down. I can bring it down, bring it back up. It gives me the ability to just kind of mix different audio levels, all on the same platform without having to, intersperse them. Sometimes people want to record their voice separately from the music. So that would be the main reason why you would bring your audio in through an audio capture device separately from your music that you're mixing if you're recording on separate tracks. Okay, here we already covered the stingers, scenes, sources. I think we're good. Is there any questions? Any questions?
What about the audio syncing with a camera?
Audio syncing with a camera. I'd probably say we need Josh Carl for that.
Hey, Josh, jump in.
I don't know if Josh is still here.
DVD J King is on.
What's up, King? So there's an advanced audio properties where you can go in and change your sync offset, and it will show all your different audio inputs where you can go in and change those. I would recommend, if you're having sync issues, or to even find out if you are, is to do a recording and then just watch it back.
So basically, here's an audio. So let's go to my Scarlett. We're going to go to properties here. Actually, that's not it. It's right click. There we go. Nope.
I think it's minimal too. I don't think it allows you
No,
to
it's
sync
you
that
have to
much.
click on the audio mixer. So you have to right click on the audio mixer, and then you go to advanced audio properties right here. And here's your sync offset right there. Boom.
I can't see it.
What?
It's not showing up.
Ah, son of a. All right. Can you see now the funny guy
Yeah.
in the hat?
Yeah.
Got it.
Who knows what video that is?
Is it the Hulk?
I'm gonna guess. What have you done for me lately?
Boom.
Whoa. It's
Pretty-
really strange because I was looking at this video yesterday for some reason.
Pretty damn good. That's pretty impressive, Mr. G-Force, I have to admit. All right. So here we go. So audio mixer, we are going to right click on Scarlett here, which is my audio interface. I'm going to go to advanced audio properties. And here is my sync offset right there. So I can adjust the milliseconds and I can turn the audio monitoring off. Look at that. You can even assign what tracks it's going to.
So the offset is not as advanced as something you can find in like Mix Emergency.
Well, this is the same thing. Really, a mixed emergency, we just do like negative, you know, if we're going like a negative, you know, minus, well, the milliseconds would be, so it would be -1. It'd be like minus 1.1.
I think at one point I was having a huge sync issue. Does it do it in seconds?
Milliseconds.
No, it's milliseconds. So you have to convert it.
Because it'll only go as high as I think 999 or something.
Well, if you have to go to 999 milliseconds to fix a sync, there's something else wrong.
Yeah, I fixed the issue already. So
Yeah.
The
So
other thing you can do on this is there's a filter for your video to change the offset
oh,
of
that's
the
right.
video playback too.
When you right click and go to filter on mix at EM.
On a video source,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you click the plus sign.
Look at that.
Render delay, is that it?
Render delay.
So you can go in and tweak that too. So
Interesting.
that might help you get there.
Yeah.
Yay, we're all learning something.
I feel like it takes all of the settings to get it right because I was messing with mine until I was getting it on the frame. And I was doing that by going to the recording, playing it back and see how far off I was.
And you can do that with anything too, like the logo. You can have it go slower than how the logo's set to spin. Just in that same section right here. If you click plus sign again, you'll see all the options.
So let's say that we want the DJ Mystery logo to go slower. We're going to right click.
Yeah.
Filters. We're going to add an audio filter. Actually,
video
that's going to be an
filter.
effect filter, right?
Yeah.
We're going to go to render delay.
No, you go to
Scroll.
we'll scroll, we'll let it scroll somewhere there. Try it. Render delay.
I think it would be render delay.
No, I don't think it was that. I had found something where it says, what do you want the speed of the video to go? Maybe it was only on the QuickTime one. Because I was testing out the QuickTime.
What, the M?
Yeah, no, it should work. Try the audio video filter because it's both audio video at the top, right? No, it's just
Video delay? No.
mm-mm.
Compressor, expander, gain, polarity limiter, BST.
Go back to the bottom plus sign.
It would be like a speed setting.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
Yeah. Maybe I was doing scroll.
Maybe it's in the preferences if you click on the file itself.
Because this
When
will
you-
start scrolling once you move it.
When you define it.
Ah, yeah, look at that. It's actually kind of a cool feature.
Coming soon to many streams.
What's that crop up there? Oh, it's the bottom of your logo.
Yeah, that's just because I've.
Do a like a command click on one of your video sources and do properties.
That's not. That's just.
Is there
Scroll down,
anything underneath?
Yeah, scroll down. Right there. There it is.
Feed.
I knew I saw it.
You know, it's
somewhere.
that's little. It's like hiding in plain sight because you got to realize this is a scroll bar.
Yeah.
So
Funny.
take it down to 50.
What's funny is
with
I've
the-
always tried to think this was a slider.
Keep thinking that. What was it though?
There we go. That's way too slow.
starts looking pretty choppy because it doesn't have frames to do that. But
Yeah, it's not as it's not definitely not as smooth.
but in a pinch, that would work.
Like 1 week, just do an hour of just slowing down each track you play.
Make it 75%.
Chopped and screwed set.
Oh, look at that. They're almost in sync now.
Here's a question for you, E. Is there a way to export all your settings of OBS from one computer to another?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Go to settings, maybe.
Well, if you're on 2 Macs, you could maybe export or just copy over the preference file, possibly,
So let's see.
wherever it happens to live.
Show settings folder. So open up a window. Let me drag the window over here. So that's our settings folder.
So
Log.
you could just pull all that into a different computer, I suppose.
Possibly.
Put it on your iCloud and then just open it up and drag that in. Delete the old stuff.
Here we
I
go.
guess it's-
Export.
No, that's for your scenes.
Hmm.
But see, when I did that, if it's going to another computer, you still have to have all your PNGs and stuff, or else it won't work. That's why I keep all my PNG stuff in an iCloud folder.
Who else is? Are you guys using the Stream Deck? You one of these guys?
I have a Stream Deck at work that I
No, I'm
use
not.
with After Effects, but I wish I had it at home to use with this because it would be handy. Have you used the app?
No, I just got this.
Yeah,
So-
that's the one I have.
So yeah, I just got this guy and it's connected. Well, it's actually not connected right now, but let me plug it in.
Make a video for it.
Well, that's pretty interesting. The second I connected it, it disabled my camera.
Not enough bandwidth.
Nah. It's just a tug of war over all right, here we go. So look, I got this guy up and running. Oh, look at that. So let's see here. It's interesting that it pulled that guy up. So that's, yeah. Well, I got at least it to jump from one to the other. But I'm gonna delete the scene altogether because it's all the settings are wrong. I can see right now. So is this one. Let me get rid of this. There we go. Fun stuff. All right. Are there any final questions in the comments section? Because it's about that time.
I can show real quick the scene switcher, so people know. Forgot where I downloaded that from.
All right. You should be good to share. Yeah, you still got 13 people watching. Thanks, guys. Hope everybody learned something today. I know I did. It's fun to learn.
In OBS, there's a patch that you can download called Advanced Scene Switcher. So what this allows you to do is allows you to have OBS control it for you, so you don't have to keep looking at your scenes. So for example, right here, you choose your first scene, which will then activate into the second scene, and then you can set it up in seconds. So I usually do like a 30-second, but for this, let's just do 5, and then you can do a cut or a fade. And then you add that, and then you come over here and put when video 2 goes to scene 2, 5 seconds fade, and then you just keep doing that over and over again. So where's that wrap? So 1 to 2. So technically it'll go from this to the other one in 5 seconds. You see that?
So you're just basically setting it up on a more or less like on a programmed timer.
Yeah. So it'll switch itself, so I don't have to be constantly switching. And it's very beneficial.
So when you set that up, how do you turn it off and on?
So if you come back into tools and you go to advanced scene switcher, this first generals tab has the stop and start button.
Okay.
But if you leave it on full time, it'll always just run like that. And it doesn't run heavy on your system either. Let's see. So basically, if you want to run like I like to drag stuff in like this. And whenever you make a layout, you just got to make sure to make it, 1280 by 720 or whatever.
Yeah, something we actually didn't even touch on, which is how to bring a layout in.
Yeah, and basically I'm dragging it from Finder.
So for those of you who are watching who don't even know, like, oh, how does he get that layout and all that stuff? Most of them are PNG files.
Yes.
But some of them are not. Do you want to talk about the ones that are not PNG files that are actually have animation to them?
So like that Snoop Dogg one?
No. That's well, I guess you can show that too, but like maybe showing a scene that basically has animated elements. We should probably kind of show how to build a scene. I mean,
so I usually build mine in PNGs, not MOVs.
I guess maybe we should defer to the MOV master over there.
Because that's like probably for another time, you know what I mean? Because that's a lot of stuff you have to do.
You talking about DJ see-through?
DJ see-through.
My bad. Wrong one. So pretty much that's how you add a green screen character. You can download these little characters from anywhere. And you
oh man, if I see that Snoop Dogg gif anymore, I'm gonna stream somebody.
How about that guy?
Better.
I was just gonna use that
little
guy.
tab, yeah.
And he goes on and on, man, forever.
If so, can you please share what you did on this session? All these videos stay on the group page. You can, guys can view it at any time.
So anytime I bring in anything that I want to put into OBS, I just drag it in. No matter what, OBS is going to read it somehow. If it's a track, if it's a file that it'll read. So normally you can come down here to where it says green scroll, double click on it. You can right click properties, or you can right click properties on here. So there's many different ways to access the properties of whatever you lay out in there. And then sometimes you got to be careful, because if you're going to stretch out something like from here and you think you're trying to stretch the scroll, you're actually stretching the wrong thing. So always check what's highlighted here before you start any stretching, because there's no undo on this.
I'm guessing you could lock the stuff down that you wanted to make sure that you weren't going to move,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
You
you can lock any layer down. That's what the little,
Yeah.
the little padlock next to it is.
So if I don't want number 2 to move and I have it, you see how it doesn't give me the option to move it, but now it gives me the option with the red lines. So now it's safe to say that that's not going to move anymore. So that squirrel disappeared because in the properties, I didn't have it looped. So once you have it looped, it'll always loop. And then you come back in it, double click. So when you go to filters, that's what removes with chroma key. It automatically will remove the green. So you just have to choose chroma key and it does the rest. And now right here, you know, you got Snoop Dogg dancing with a zebra and a squirrel. Let's make that more aspect ratio. Are squirrels that big nowadays? There you go. Squirrel. So
And this is like Pixar level right here.
a must-have is that NDI thing. If you go in there, just make sure. Let me show you the scene switcher. So this is advanced scene switcher. I'm actually going to copy this and put it in the group so that you have access to it. You just go to the download and then it'll download scene switcher. And then
Awesome. Thank you, Mars.
it shows you the instructions on how to set it up. So what it did is let me copy this real quick.
And
into
yeah,
the-
always follow the instructions, guys.
Yeah, it's got a README file in here. Open it, and then it says right here, right click the OBS app inside and show packages. So you'll come to applications. You right click OBS and you show packages. And then from here, it says go to contents. It says copy the advanced scene switcher.so file to the contents plugin. So this is if you're on version 24 or newer, or if you're on older, it'll say contents, resources. And then it says copy the file to contents, resources, OBS. So
What do we think is the best version of OBS for everybody to be on right now? It's obviously not 0.8. Do we think 25.06, 07?
6 is what I've been running.
I'm actually, I didn't even notice. I'm on 24.0.6.
Really?
Yeah, and I haven't had any problems.
I don't think they're doing much updating of what we're using it for, maybe.
I agree. I think anyone who's on at least 26.0.5, I think anything that's the most minimum I think you probably want. I have it. Maybe I'll upgrade. I don't know. You can
I'm
the
on
great
08.
Go ahead.
I'm on 08.
And you're having any problems?
The problem that I do have is if I, haven't been streaming and then I try to stream, it doesn't want to go and I have to restart the computer
Yeah,
and then it'll let me stream.
Brett had some problems today, and that's because he had upgraded to 8, and as soon as he went back to 7, he was fine. Crush was even saying the same thing too, that there's some bugs in 8. And I think it actually has something to do with mixed emergency. to be honest.
So right there, you got a looped background. It's very simple to do. It was exactly what I did with all this. I just drag in the MP4 file, click on it down here, and transform it.
Be careful when you're starting to add too many elements into OBS. You will start noticing.
Oh yeah, lag and CPU usage.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed your CPU usage jump up. It's actually doubled since you started adding all this stuff in there now, and now it's about to be tripled because you were at about 5. You were at about 5%. Now you're up to 12 and 13.
I'm at.
Every time you keep adding all these things, all these different files in there, the CPU usage is obviously jumping. So just something for everybody to kind of know about is that, you want to make sure that you're not putting in too much stuff.
So you see right here, just this alone in the phone call that we're doing is got me at 45:53. So I usually don't use all this animation. Like for me, I just want the PNG scenes and just a nice background, When I was using that Latin flags background, it didn't do much to my computer. My computer was still running over 75.
Now that you've got that animation gone, you've cut in half. You're back down to like 7, 8. It's okay. I got something coming that'll solve all that. Something really lightweight that'll be able to handle all the animation stuff.
Is it those logo animations for 89 cents from GeForce?
Per pixel.
So other than that, yeah. If anybody needs any help, just hit me up, mars.franco on Facebook. I help out anybody who needs the help. And yeah, find me on Instagram and Twitch at DJRapMars.
Awesome. Thanks, bro. All right, guys, that's going to conclude today's tutorial on OBS. Hope it was a good introductory tutorial. We'll do another one in the next coming weeks, especially once a couple of people have really had their opportunity to tear apart 8 and figure out what's up with version 8 and why it's doing some funky things. But appreciate all you guys for tuning in and hanging out with us and just getting some knowledge here. If you missed any part of this video, it will be available on the Facebook group in just a minute. So thanks so much. Coming up next on the video channel, if you guys want to hop over, Adam Worth dropping his weekly set. And then any video DJs who want to take the 5 o'clock p.m. spot after Adam Worth for an hour, hit me up because the gentleman who was supposed to have that slot, not saying any names, please, is not able to make it or not able to respond to any of my text messages. So we're going to put somebody else in there. So surprise weekly guest spot. We'll have to see who's going to get it. You guys have to tune in. And then later on, Knack will be doing a 2-hour set, and then I'll be closing it out. Why I take these opportunities to plug the channel is because we all got to come together to make the channel great and make it strong and survive. It's not going to survive on its own. It's going to require everybody's help to keep it going and to keep the numbers climbing and not decreasing. So I appreciate that. That's it. Till next time. See you guys next Wednesday on our weekly virtual meetup, and we'll see you online. And don't bother GeForce too much for visuals, but you can bother them a little bit. See ya.